Joining us to go in depth from Washington, D.C., where he's Skyping in from the Heritage Foundation, David Inserra, who is a research associate there at Heritage for National Security. David, as we take a look at this, the first question is this. Is this attack in New York in any way connected to what happened in Canada, or could it be a copycat?
Thanks for having me. At this point, it's a little unclear. It's too early to know exactly. I don't think they've even been definitively ascertained that this is a terrorist attack. That being said, it's certainly very worrying, coming right after the attack in Canada, and actually that follows another attack in Canada that was Islamist inspired. So we are seeing a lot of these events which do seem to have indicators of radical Islamist behavior. So we really do need to make sure that our police officers, our military officials are taking the proper measures to stay on guard and to protect themselves.
David, part of the caution I understand about the alleged assailant, the guy with the hatchet in New York who was shot dead by the cops, is that the NYPD says it has not yet been able to notify next of kin. But you take a look at what is purported to be this man's Facebook page. It is chock full of Islamist propaganda. So I can understand a hesitancy to connect the dots. But however we look at this thing, yesterday, 3 in the afternoon, on a sidewalk in Queens, a guy with a beard with Islamist talk on his Facebook account comes up and goes after 4 NYPD cops. How can it not be at least considered in some form or fashion terrorism?
Indeed, and if all those things come out certainly to be true, I have not personally seen the Facebook account just yet, so I'm not going to say that it definitely is terrorism. But if those things are true, then it's very likely that we are looking at a terrorist attack. Maybe he was inspired by the attacks in Canada, but we don't know that just definitively just yet. But like I said, regardless of whether this is terrorism or terrorism-like events, there's still great danger to our cops, to our military officers, and we need to make sure that right now we're taking the proper security and intelligence measures to protect them regardless of the nature of these attacks.
A couple of minutes left in this segment, David. I want to talk about what appears to be a trend, and I've coined the phrase micro-terrorism, almost one-on-one accounts, not the huge things we've seen in the past. Do you believe that Islamist terrorists are moving now to the notion of micro-terror? Any town USA or any town North America, in terms of what happened in Canada, one person and maybe an attack on a small group. Is that the growing trend?
Yeah, so this, in counterterrorism circles, this is known as lone wolf terrorism. This is one individual or one or two individuals who engage in an attack that's not part of a wider cell. So these attacks are very difficult to track down and stop, because when there's a group of terrorists planning something, there's often chatter between them. They're making very obvious moves that can be seen by security and intelligence services. Lone wolves, on the other hand, they're by themselves. And if it's just them and their thoughts, it's much harder to find them and stop them. So yes, I do think this, certainly some of the attacks in Canada, maybe this attack in New York City, these could be examples of lone wolf terrorists, which are very concerning indeed.
And at least on this anchor desk, we will follow the suggestion of the FBI director, dispense with lone wolf and instead use the term lone rat. Whatever you call it, it is a change in tactics. David and Sarah, we're going to ask you to stand by there at the Heritage Foundation. Coming back, we're going to go to Newsmax New York and talk with Nick Casal, a background in law enforcement and transportation, and yes, having to deal with terrorism in the wake of yesterday's attack in Queens. So those two gentlemen will join us next as we continue to talk about terror in Canada and apparently terror in New York City, next on America's Forum.